Hello and welcome to the latest episode of A Discussion. I'm joined by Anton, as always, as we discuss what has been a really successful week for the Brewers. Wins on Saturday, or a win on Saturday, a win on Tuesday. Been a really good week, Anton. How are you?
Afternoon. Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I think a better week better two games than anyone could have really wished for. Obviously, the result on Saturday and then again last night rounds off a really good little period of games. And as the league table says, it's propelled us right up with two games in hand over most clubs. Can't rest on our laurels though, and I think that's it. We're out of the mess, but it's certainly a massive springboard. But we're just going to be important that we keep our feet on the floor and we keep grinding out results, which I think last night predominantly we did. It was more of a grinded out result than a played well result.
Yeah, and you mentioned shooting up to what is at the time we're recording this, I believe 18th in the table, which is it's a far cry from where we were. What feels like just a few weeks ago. But as you kind of touched on, the hard work has to keep on coming because the games are coming thick and fast at the moment, and with we've got Wimbledon coming up, especially. You've got to really keep pushing because within 2 weeks' time you can drop right back down to and you're in trouble again. So definitely we'll keep pushing. We've got the squad depth to do so now, as well as I think a few injuries come about, but we've brought in the players to do that, and we've got some really good options now for these next two games that are going to be testing us as well.
Yeah, I think the important thing is, and I think what we've done really well, we've got results when we've not expected to get results, but that's allowed us to play the next tougher games without any pressure, which has still allowed us then to get results. You look at when we played Sunderland, no one expected anything there. Then we played Charlton, no one expected anything there. We got something out of it. We were going up against Peterborough, top of the league, above us in the form table by one, which is going to be a really interesting affair. But we've obviously the win last night against Bristol and the win against Rochdale as well. 6 points out of 6. It takes that little bit of pressure off the game on Saturday. And Peterborough expect to beat us. We're down at the bottom. So again, we can play with a bit more freedom, and I think that suits us better when that's the case, rather than having to be nervy at it. So I think that'll only help us. And as you say, we've got Wimbledon coming up after that, and another a good set of fixtures, I think, for us, with teams in and around us or just above us. So if we can pick up results and certainly not lose against them, it's closing the gap on above and hopefully moving away from below.
Yeah, and you mentioned that 2-0 win against Rochdale, which really kind of set up this week of this good week that we've had, and it was a very Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank Burton Albion win, Anton, because actually I think Rochdale had no shots on target in the entire game. They didn't look threatening, and although you could argue that they are in the relegation zone, it was a really complete performance.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it before. There was a lot of people that when Jimmy came back saying, "Oh, we played our best football under Jimmy." To watch, not so much so, but in terms of organisation and structure, yeah, he is one of the best kind of periods we've had, where we've grinded out results. And win ugly sounds awful, but we know we do. It's not like a free flowing performance where we're passing teams off the park. We're grinding out results and we're scoring and hitting teams hard at the right time. You look at the second half against Rochdale, and I think we were really good. We went more direct in terms of we ran at them, not as in long ball and bump into the box, but we were more direct. And that we talked about it before, converting our shots to shots on target to goals, and that's something that's really critical, and it is going to be crucial going forward because we won't get lots and lots of shots every week. So we'll make sure that when we do have them, we count, and we did that certainly at Rochdale. If it wasn't for Michael Fondop stopping, I think it was Johnny Smith on the line, it could have been 3-4 or more, I think. So yeah, it was a different kind of performance again, but no, it was one that we expect now. I think it wasn't so much of a grind, but we certainly wall them down and then hit them hard.
And we certainly one thing that I've found in the recent weeks, we mentioned it when there was rumours of him to sign Tom Hamer, the long throw, which has aided us in getting that first goal in the game, which I think actually after that we kind of improved. It was the same against Bristol Rovers, which we'll touch on in a moment. But after we got the goal, we almost seemed a little bit more comfortable. We played a lot better, and whether that's just because they've kind of come out of their shell a bit more, they've come forward and, we're punishing them at the back or trying to punish them on the break. But yeah, Tom Hamer, he puts in a good throw and good flick on by Michael Bostwick, who I must say has been absolutely immense in the last few weeks. And then Kane Hemmings as well, back on the score sheet. Good to see him back.
Yeah, we'll touch on Hamer first. I think, it's a different weapon that we've not had for a very, very, very long time. I think Roy Delap obviously wasn't here for very long, but it's a weapon, and with big guys in the team as well now, it can be really effective, as we saw on Saturday. Scoring on Saturday when we did, obviously the home team had to come out and try and chase the game, being 1-0 down. So obviously that made more space for us to go out and attack and run into. We've seen how we're playing now. Our main outlet is Johnny Smith. His pace is incredible. And getting that goal, making the other team kind of chase the game, makes more gaps, and obviously that led to the second goal as well. So, yeah, it's all going in the right direction. You touched on Michael Bostwick there. I think you look at it, and there's a fair amount of players that were already at the club that weren't moved on. I think everyone has improved. I'm not the biggest Ben Garrett fan. Well, rephrase that, I wasn't the world's biggest Ben Garrett fan. Well, I'll tell you what, in the last 6 games, he's hardly put a foot wrong. I think the Sunderland game, I think he could have done better, don't get me wrong. But he's done what he's had to do with hardly any mistakes. We're stopping the crosses coming in, so that kind of takes his command of the area and his handling probably out of it a little bit. But shot stopping is second to none. I don't think anyone's ever doubted that. He was Crew Player of the Year once or twice at a young age. So he's clearly capable, but he's now confident, and that makes a massive, massive difference. But the number of shots we're having on our goal now is reduced. So you've got to then take credit for the people in front of him. You touched on Michael Bostwick. I think, I don't think anyone would have expected him to be in probably the starting 11 under Jimmy to start with. Obviously, he wasn't, with JJ being there. But since he's come in, he's been an absolute man mountain. I think you can count probably on a couple of fingers the amount of mistakes he's made. Him and Hayden Carter at the back have been superb. But again, I think that all goes down to what's in front of them as well. Mancian came in against Bristol and played relatively well in there, very much experienced. But Sean Clare and Ryan Edwards, with the energy they've got going box to box, is absolutely incredible. And obviously that helps protect Bostwick, who then in turn protects Ben Garrett as well. So, Jimmy's masterminded that and got the best out of the players that were existing at the club, as well as bringing in the new faces as well.
And we've mentioned the Bristol Rovers game a few times now, so I suppose we should go on to it in a bit more detail. It was another quite different performance from us. One where we I don't think we've really got into second gear. We were kind of, for large periods of the game, I felt we were not struggling, but Bristol had the most of the ball. They were putting the pressure on a lot, and they didn't create too much, but I just felt, I wasn't very comfortable sitting watching. I had a slight worry that every time they came forward, it would be them taking, getting the first goal. But we kept ourselves in the game, and we've done that many times. And with that, when you've got quality up the other end, Johnny Smith with, an incredible goal. The amount of times I've watched it back and questioned how he's managed to get the curve and the power and the pace on it from that angle. We kind of, kept ourselves in a game that really, we weren't the best for large parts on, but we came out with the win.
Yeah, you touched on Johnny Smith and his attacking threat. I think you've also got to kind of take your hat off and applaud him for his defensive efforts as well. The Rochdale game is incredible, but we spoke about it before. The way Jimmy sets up, the back four are quite narrow, so you're relying on the 2 wide men in midfield to kind of sit in when we haven't got the ball and create a 6. They're the guys that are stopping the crosses. You said it before, when Bristol had the ball, they obviously played with wing backs, so they were doubling up at times and getting balls into the box. But, the amount that did come in the box was reduced by the hard work of Lucas when he was out on the left and Johnny Smith when he's out on the right. The guys in the middle again have protected, and even though you say it's unnervy, I'm a lot more happier and I'm a lot more relaxed now that balls do come in our box. We're going to deal with them, whereas before it wasn't. Those balls did come in, but we dealt with them, and Bristol certainly didn't have any chances at all. I don't even think Ben Garrett made a save last night. I think he made one or two on Saturday, certainly against Rochdale early doors, but last night against Bristol, he was pretty bored, I would have thought. He almost could have put a chair in and sat up. But, with the ball, though, Bristol Rovers were really, really good. I think Joey Barton was going to get them playing good football. I hate to give him credit, but, they don't look like a bottom six side at the minute to me. They just need a bit more clinical, probably. Well, I think, don't take any credit away from us. We defended really well, although they got in those positions. When they got there, we kind of cleared our lines and did what we needed to do. It wasn't a fluid performance, as you said. It was a really grinding out result. But at this stage of the season, it's results that matter, not performances. And to win ugly is also a good sign of a good team. If you win but don't play particularly well, then that's great. I say it's an important time of year. It's the time of year where you gain momentum, which is what we're on at the minute. So, it's really, really positive. We're winning when we're playing well, and we're winning when we're not probably firing on all cylinders as well. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm pretty interested to see what you'd think about. I know Joey Barton is certainly, having watched his post-match interview, he doesn't seem the biggest fan of the red card decision that went against his team. Obviously, second yellow. What do you reckon? Because I think we might have slightly differing views on this one.
A yellow card's a yellow card. Regardless if it's your first yellow card or your second yellow card is a yellow card. So kicking the ball away, is he after a free kick or a throw-in or whatever, is a yellow card offence. So the fact that the idiot player decided to kick the ball away when the team was already 1-0 down to waste time, why? Why do that? What's the point? We're the 1-0 down. Oh, I just remember so I completely.
It was 0-0, I think.
It was 0-0.
We scored
either way. Regardless, either way, they were. You could argue they were on top and they were trying to, they were more of an attacking threat than we were. Well, that changed the game. That probably allowed us to go and get the first goal. But it's a yellow card. If you kick the ball away, it's a yellow card. You didn't need to do it. What you need to do was stand on the bloke that was going to take the throw in. You didn't need to kick it any further. It was just ridiculous. Certainly in his own half as well. Just silly. It's naive. It's inexperienced. And he isn't. McCormack isn't inexperienced. Or he was a Chelsea youngster. So he's been around the block for a while and played at this level. So it was a silly second bookable offence. So yes, it definitely was a booking, which turned into the sending off. Joey Barton in his interview, I thought, was trying to deflect the fact that, okay, they didn't get much luck, but at half time, you saw that Albions goalkeeper coach Andy Key going towards the referee for a chat, and Jimmy was also waiting for him by the tunnel at half time for a word of some description, because the referee again hasn't got to grips on the game. We looked at the Sunderland game where that got out of hand when it actually wasn't a really nasty game. I think the AFL put out to that both teams have been fined after an investigation, and that you read some of the comments on social media. Are those fines going to go towards referee training? I don't want to criticise referees myself too much, because I certainly wouldn't be able to do it. A, because I'm not fit enough, and secondly, I won't be in the public eye. But the standards got to be better. We can't have VAR in all divisions. I wouldn't want VAR in all divisions. I want VAR in the Premier League for me. We've grew up and football's evolved over hundreds of years, the same as every other sport, cricket, whatever. Without technology, it's played by humans, so it should be officiated by humans. Mistakes do happen, but they've got to get better. The officials have got to get better by themselves, whether that through training, not by technology. But it's the same for both teams. So Joey Barton coming out and saying that the referee affected the game is utter tosh in my opinion. His player getting sent off affected the game through his idiotic error. I think was one of the few things the referee probably did get right at the time, which I think you disagree with. But
I think for me, it's there's two kind of problems that I have with the player being given the second yellow for that, and there's the amount of times that we could count, and you could count it in even one game, the amount of times that a player kicks the ball away from a throw-in or a corner or a goal kick, whatever, and doesn't get booked, it is incredibly high. The amount of times that they get away with it, if you want to say it. But I also think, like you say, it is naive, because if I remember at the time, their goalkeeper was caught out, he's come out, kind of scuffed it a little bit and ended up having to kind of quickly push it out of play, which is that I don't think if the goalkeeper's out of his goal, it gives him a yellow card. And whether you can say that's right or wrong, I'm not sure. But for me, I don't think if the goalkeeper's out of position on the edge of his area as we're about to take the throw in and he kicks the ball away, I don't think he gets a booking.
I think that didn't help him was the referee was fairly close and the linesman was right in front of him as well. So it was right in front of the official. As you say, the goalkeeper was out of position, so he knew what he was doing. But we all have different opinions. I'm a stickler and I'm quite traditional. I think referees should cut down on it. It's the same as penalty and shirts pulling in the box. At the start of the season, they go, right, any shirt pulling, we're not going to blow you and give you a warning. We're going to give a foul, whichever way it is. You do that in the first couple of weeks, it'll soon stop happening. So if you start penalising players early doors for stupid time wasting things, they'll stop doing it, because players will get sent off and accumulate all these bookings. So they'll learn. So, I know there are meetings at the start of the season, I think halfway to the season, between the officials and the clubs. And I think that's something that they really need to hone down on and saying, right, time wasting, you're going to be carded for it, cut it out. None of this, we're going to do it, and then actually we're going to be a little bit lenient. And then the one time the referee goes, well, I'm not going to be lenient, you're going to get, you're going to have a yellow card. Everyone goes, oh, you booked him or you got sent off. At the end of the day, it's the rules are the rules, or the laws of the game, whichever way around you want to look at it. So, again, it comes back to the officials saying things at the start of the season, saying you're definitely going to be, we're looking at handling players in the box for a corner, time wasting, etc., etc. Nip it in the ball early doors, because throughout the season it ain't going to happen. See it in rugby, don't kick the ball away in rugby to waste time. They accept the decision, they don't backchat the ref, and they get on with it. I'm not a rugby player, I don't particularly like watching rugby, but that's one part of the game I really do wish that football would kind of adopt, is the fact that the referee is in charge, whether he's doing a good enough job or not, but he's the one with the authority. Show him respect, call him sir, don't talk to him, don't backchat him, just get on with the game. Because whatever you say ain't going to make any iota of a difference.
There's one thing that I do agree with is that I think we kind of saw on Saturday as well, when obviously Rochdale got a player sent off. Again, it seemed, well, it's one of those things that you can't really see a reason to appeal against a red card, but do it anyway.
Yeah, you look at the bookings that are on halfway line that are from a little tiny shirt pull, but because everyone's out of position, it's a cynical foul. They get booked for it. It's not a bookable offence, really, is it? It's not like they've lunged in and they've trying to harm him. So you got to take different bookings in different contexts, and the booking for that kind of thing on a halfway line from pulling back a player is a really minor misdemeanor, the same as kicking the ball away. But in the laws of the game, it's a booking. So yeah, it was rightly sent off.
With that, we'll move on very briefly very swiftly to the upcoming games that we've got. We've touched on them at the start. First of all, Peterborough. We gave them a good game, I think, earlier on in the season, actually. If I remember, a 2-2 draw. Kane Hemmings getting 2. We played really well. And it was actually one of those performances where I think we felt hard done by. Maybe should have won the game, which, would have been a big result for us at the time, but we didn't. We took a point from that. And now they're top of the league. As you said earlier, top of the form chart. It's going to be a difficult game.
It is, but again, as I said, the pressure's on them. They're hunting for silverware. I think they've got games in hand over second placed Hull, I think, or whoever's in second place now. So the kind of the pressure is on them. They want to continue their form. They want to win their games in hand. They're playing a team that are in the bottom half of the league, so they would expect to win. What we've got for us is the fact that we've obviously won, I think, 4 out of the 5 home games under Jimmy, I think it is. We're obviously in good form ourselves. Our team is getting stronger. It's gelling together. You touched on before, there's injuries and suspension starting to creep in. However, we've got options on the bench. We've got options outside the bench that people aren't getting in the squad. So, we're going to miss Sean Clare, I think. I'm not sure if I think Fondot was a tactical decision. But, you got Kane Hemmings to come into the side after a rest through his injury. Obviously, Lucas came off for a bit of a breather last night. And John Brayford's played at least 2 games in a week, 3 games in a week. Can he do another one? I don't know. But, we've got the options there to put Tom Hamer back to right back and bring Josh Earl in. But Hamer's, made that left back position last couple of games his own. He's played really, really well. So, yeah, Peterborough is going to be a tough test, but we're at home. We're in good form. We're only second in the form table behind them. So we've got lots of things going for us. Peterborough, we've got more to lose than we have. No one expects us to win still, but the pressure's all on them.
The term a free hit has been we've bounced it about recently. The Sunderland game, the Charlton game, I think before the Hull game as well. And actually, out of those, we've gone and won 2 of the 3. And you mentioned earlier as well about picking up these points that we don't really expect. So that's the mentality that we've got to really go into this game, I think, with. They're gonna. There's a reason that they're top of the league. They're gonna be a good side. But we can hurt them, I think. We even showed that earlier on in the season. We're scoring twice away. Them were still really, really solid, pushing for automatic promotion back then. So, yeah, we know we can hurt them. We know we can hurt the other teams that are around them as well, or have hurt them. Again, Charlton, Hull, so keep ourselves in the game, keep tight at the back, and we've got quality.
Yeah, it's hard because I think you kind of got to split the season up into 2. I think that much changed in a short space of time. Our performances and our games in the first half of the season, the personnel in there now is completely different. So even though that they probably will have the 2-2 draw in the back of their minds, they've got to look at things, and even though we're in the bottom half of the league, they're going to come up against a team that are on form, the same as them. So they drew against us at the start of the season. The form, they're playing away from home. The pressure they've got on, because obviously they keep winning with Hull batting down the door and the teams up around there. So we've talked about the free hit thing. It is a free hit. We've got no pressure on us. But when we picked up these points again in these free hit games, then the games that matter, there's been less pressure on us again, which then just alleviates it all. So it is a big game for us because I think we can get something out of it. As I say, we're at home. We're making it a fortress again. We're in good form. But good form doesn't always last forever. That runs for either team has got to end at some point. So hopefully, obviously, the odds are in our favour on Saturday. But I still think the pressure is massively on them compared to us. Yeah,
and I wanted to ask you about what team roughly you will go with this Peterborough, Anton, because one player that's kind of shone, and I'll admit I wasn't his biggest fan, in the past season or 2, but Joe Powell, I think, he's come on as a substitute in the last 2 games. I think both of them were at 0-0 when he's come on, and since then we've scored 3, and he's looked a completely different player for me.
I'm glad you mentioned him. I've got it written down to speak about him. It's not with you, obviously, on my separate one later. But we talked about Joe Powell before and how he plays. And I tell you what, I'll take my hat off to him as well. You saw it last night against Bristol Rovers, I think, more than anything. Off the ball, when we have not got possession, his fight to get that ball back for his team is completely different to what it was 3, 4, 5 months ago. Jimmy's installed that into him, and that will make him the complete player. It was interesting his tactical switch last night by bringing Powell on for Fondop rather than probably Kane, Hemmings, and going like for like up top. But yeah, he is another existing player that's making it hard, I think, for Jimmy not to kind of to pick. And Ryan Broom didn't play again last night. That's 2 games on the trot, and he hasn't come on. I think everybody thought, oh, that's a really good sign. That's a clever signing. But the Powell coming into form has made us not have to kind of use Broom as such. So, yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's got to, we've got to applaud the player as well as the management on this, because it's not easy and not always possible for a manager or the coaching team to get the best out of a player if they haven't got it in the locker. What he has shown, I didn't think he would, but he has shown me that he can do that ugly side of the game as well. And for me, he would start on Saturday, yes.
That would be the same answer for me, I think. Another player who might slip his way into the starting 11 with the suspension of Sean Clare is Terry Taylor. And I've got to be honest, I was incredibly impressed with that cameo last night. I think 15, 20 minutes on the pitch. I know we're playing against 10 men, but he looked so composed. He just made everything look so simple. Picked up the ball, passed it to someone, moved into space, received the ball, passed it to someone, moved into space. And it was that for the last real, quarter of an hour of that game. Does he play for you?
I'm not sure if he starts for me on Saturday, but I think it was in the last 5 or 7 minutes of the game against Bristol, there was a chance the ball came out to our left. It was cleared to our left back area, and I think he turned and just, I say sat on the ball. He obviously didn't sit on the ball, but he protected the ball and did about 4 different turns without moving the ball. But it took Bristol's players out of the equation. He was just so calm and collective, as you say, and cool. It was for a lad of a young age that hasn't played much at this level before, or probably played much competitive football before. He looked a real asset. And, going forward, we've signed him on I think a 2.5-year contract. I think he could be a real footballer. If not with Burton Albion, I think he could be a player that we could make a good profit on going forward. But obviously, he's going to need pitch time to do that. I think this is the second time now that he's come on and made a bit of a cameo appearance. So the answer to your original question is yes, I was really impressed with him. Would I start him on Saturday? Probably not. I think I'd go with Mancian and Edwards in that kind of holding role as such, and then Joe Powell in that midfield space in front of that or behind the striker. That'll be my midfield 3.
Yeah, and a midfield 3 that is it's just. I mean, your midfield 3 is one that's kind of very dynamic. There's a lot of different kind of players in there. You got Ryan Edwards, who kind of, all of them will get all over the pitch, but Ryan Edwards kind of, he seems to be everywhere. Joe Powell, really good technically, as we know, and as we've talked about, added a kind of a pressing side to his game, if you will. Michael Mancian, who, as we think you kind of mentioned it earlier, kind of a bit of an underrated performance on Tuesday. He just kind of went under the radar a bit, but went about in the midfield alongside Sean Clare, kind of, doing his thing, and allowed Clare to get forward a bit further as well.
Yeah, Saturday is going to be obviously a bit different because with Clare being suspended, obviously that dynamicness is going to drop down a level. No disrespect to Michael Mancian, but he hasn't got the energy in the legs and probably the pace that Sean Clare has got. So I think we will miss that from that area on Saturday. Well, I think that puts more pressure and more responsibility, more than anything, on Ryan Edwards. But with the ever improving powers we've touched on, I think it may be a case of Mancienne doing the sitting role and Edwards and Powell doing that pressing. And so rather than being a 4-2-1, it probably will be a 4-1-2 as such, and just that one man sit. I hope we don't sit back too much and wait for them to kind of press us. I hope we kind of go out on the front foot. We try and play football like we have done the last couple of weeks. And we kind of take the game to them a little bit when we can. Still staying structured and organised, obviously, but just that midfield two of Clare and Edwards has been really, really vital. So seeing them split up will be interesting to see how we perform doing it.
And we'll be missing Sean Clare as well for the game that we play on Tuesday night away at Wimbledon. We've talked almost every week about the games coming thick and fast. It's another one, possibly actually, means a lot more to us than the Peterborough game. I think if you consider where Wimbledon are in the league, I think they just dropped into the relegation zone over the past game week or two. Pretty inconsistent side. Really. They've got Joe Pigott, who's a really good player for them. He's scored 15 this season, which is, pretty impressive for a team that's struggling, clearly. And yeah, it's going to be maybe a more important game than the Peterborough game, and one that I hope that we'll edge.
Yeah. Jimmy's selection on Saturday will be interesting. As you say, I think the Tuesday night game is the most important of the two. So will it be a case of being able to rest players like Johnny Brayford, so putting Hamer back to right back and bringing Josh Early into left back and giving Johnny B a bit of a rest? So his team selection is going to be interesting. He's kept Kane out of the starting 11 for at least 2 games, if not 3, since he's been fit. So is he waiting for this kind of little hard period as such, where we've played Sunderland, Charlton, and then Peterborough on Saturday, till that's over? And then is he keeping him fresh and raring to go for when we play Wimbledon, Crewe, Blackpool, MK Dons around then? So again, it could be a good bit of management from Jimmy, kind of using his squad depth and kind of being really clever. So yeah, he's got a lot of options, which I think is really, really key. He came in and said that from the very start. I want 2 players in every position. I think the way we're playing football, you can see why he wanted to do it. We've been lucky, I think, so far. We've not picked many injuries up, even though the intensity of playing has been really high. But there's players that aren't even making the bench now that you were starting before. I know we talked about Colin Daniel in the past. My opinion on him still doesn't change, but he's got a back injury, but he's not making the bench. You've got Ben Fox that's come back, obviously from a very short loan spell at Barnet. He's not making the bench. You've got Luke Varney now that doesn't make the bench, with Fondop coming in. You've got Kieran Gilligan that seems to have disappeared into the abyss a little bit, even after signing that contract extension. Josh Parker's not been seen for the last couple of games. And then on top of that, the guys on the bench as well. It's a really good squad depth. Danny Rowe, his form's been really good, and he usually dropped down to the bench last night but didn't get on. As I said, touched on it, Josh Earl in there as well. Terry Taylor's fighting for a place. So yeah, I think we're in a really good position, and Jimmy will be able to probably mix and match his teams a little bit this Saturday, Tuesday, then Saturday, Tuesday again the next couple of weeks. So, but no, Saturday's a free hit, so I'd expect a couple of fresh faces in there, and then we go out strong again for Tuesday. But I said that last night, and he still didn't play Kane and didn't play our strongest 11, in my opinion. So what do I know?
What's your score prediction for Peterborough?
I'm going to go 1-1, I think.
And Wimbledon?
I'm going to go with a Jimmy 1-0, I think. You?
Well, I was going to point out that I actually correctly predicted the Bristol Rovers game, I think, if I remember correctly, a 1-0. So
if you use a pen, you can write it down. You don't have to remember.
Well, yeah, but correctly predicted that one. So I'm going to keep the streak up. Hopefully, I think we'll draw 0-0 to Peterborough, and we'll beat Wimbledon 2-0. Hopefully.
I've got one for you to predict then. I've kind of had a bit of a think this morning and last night about where we are, how we're performing, how far can we go this season. I've wrote it down, I've told people this, I've predicted that we will finish around 14th in the league. Our goal difference at the moment is -18. I've predicted that our goal difference by the end of the season will be 0.
A bold statement.
It is a bold statement, but I think we've got to look positive now. Even though we've got to kind of keep our feet on the floor, the performances should only get better the more that the squad develops and Jimmy gets his ideas across. So, I think by the end of March, we will know what position we're going to be in. We're either going to be still in a dogfight or we're going to have pulled away and we'll be able to kind of chase that little pack above us down and see how far we get. But I'm sure there are going to be bumps in the road, but I think 14th in the league with the goal difference of 0, I think that's a really good achievable target. It's not unrealistic. It's going to push us, don't get me wrong, but I think it is possible. And Jimmy says he doesn't look at the league table, but I'm sure deep down he's got somewhere where he'd like to finish.
Yeah, it's interesting. For me, I mean, I think I saw last night that we're currently on the Jimmy and Dino are on 2.3 points per game, which that would win you the league if you maintain that for the whole season. So if we can keep on getting the results, I don't see why we can't. We're kind of leading that relegation pack, if you will, at the moment. We're kind of there's a bit of a gap between us now at the top, and I think it might be Fleetwood 6 or 5 points ahead of us. But whoever that is, 2-3 games, the game's going fast. In 2 weeks' time, we could be talking about us, really kind of almost, not being safe, but being in a very comfortable position. So it's very
possible. On the flip side of it, it could also work the other way around. We've got to really, I know I've just gone and made a really bold prediction, but we've got to take it game by game. We really have got to take it game by game. I know we've got games in hand, but I'm not being rude, I'm trying to look for that stat for you, but it all changes, I think, week from week, but this spell in March now is going to be the real pivotal. So the next 3-4 weeks, as you say, we will know if we're in a dogfight at the bottom or we've got a bit of breathing space and we can not relax a little bit more, but play with even less pressure than we have at the minute.
Yeah, and I think hopefully we should pick up a result against Wimbledon. Hopefully we can get one against Peterborough as well. With that, I think Wigan and Rochdale are really in pretty poor form at the moment. Wimbledon aren't in great form. They're kind of starting to slip away, dare I say. But yeah, we just got to take it a game at a time, keep pushing ourselves every game. And yeah, we'll, take it week by week or game by game. Keep pushing. And, you don't really know, you never know where we might end up.
Yeah, exactly. I think Jimmy and Dino are installing that into the players going game by game. Dino keeps saying on social media, I've found it for you now, but its kind of strapline is review, plan, do, go again. And they've all said that from minute one they walk through the door. Yeah. It's 90 minutes, the game's over, we review it, we then plan for the next one, and the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. They are not looking too far ahead. I think that's really, really important. Even though obviously we're in this rich run of form at the minute, it really is crucial that we continue to just review the last 90 minutes, plan for the next 90 minutes, do the next 90 minutes. So I think that's a really good thing for Dino to kind of keep saying, and mentally that's a really good kind of tradition, but kind of positive energy to install into the players. And I think as a club, if we're bought into that, and hopefully the fans are as well, it'll only put us good stead, not just after this season, but next season as well. And hopefully we're pushing up in the right half of whatever league we're in.
Yeah. And with that, Anton, as I said, we kind of, we go into these 2 games. It's going to be difficult. We're going to have to work as we are a lot. But we'll pull through and we'll get the results that we want. I'm pretty confident of that at the moment. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening,
No
this
problem.
afternoon, and catch up with you again next week. Hopefully, two good results will be coming our way.
Definitely.
Cheers, Anton.
Cheers. Take care.
See you later.